All right, we're going holding by Pirke Avos. Again, we're going holding by Pirke Avos, ethics of our fathers, as it is known. We are in chapter 2, Mishna 14, part 13. Again, we are in Pirke Avos, ethics of our fathers, chapter 2, Mishna 14, part 13, the last part of the Mishnah. We've been speaking about someone who borrows doesn't repay, right? We said, as if you borrow from the omnipresent, as it is said, the wicked one borrows, does not repay, but the righteous one is gracious and gives, right? We spoke about that as well. And the last part of the Mishnah is, which hopefully we'll finish tonight, or today for most people, afternoon or morning, and that is, Rebbe Elazar says, a wicked heart. Right, so and then Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said to them, I prefer the words of Elazar ben Arach to your words. Your words are included in his words. So what is a wicked heart according to Rabbi Elazar? All right, that is the question, and simple answer is that first through one of the great commentaries on the Mishnah, in general, explains that the heart is the source of everything. Right? So we do understand biology, right? We don't have to explain biology here, but biology 101, basically the heart controls the body. The heart is weak, the body is weak. I mean, you can have other parts of the body also, right? That if they're weak, they can also, cause damage to the body. But essentially, if the heart is weak, body is weak, right? In general. So here the first row explains the heart is the source of everything, and if the heart is bad, i.e., it's rotten, it's evil, so to speak, wants to do bad things, then certainly affects the body and the mind. Right? Now, that's not too hard to understand because the heart is the main part of the body. Right? So therefore, if the heart goes, right, the body goes as well. So that's not too hard to understand. But what are we saying over here? That the heart has the ability to affect the rest, right? The rest of the body. The mind, and this is, something definitely needs further clarification, right? And that is, the mind may know the right thing to do. But there's a mind to heart disconnect, meaning, so today I would say for most people, the hardest thing is knowing what the truth is. Most people not interested in searching for the truth, right? What do most people want? Eat, drink, and be merry, lest tomorrow I die, right? That's what they want. They don't want to be bothered. It's true. It's not true. It used to be. People were more philosophical. People were interested in truth. Today's about desire. I'm not saying there's nobody interested in truth today. There are people certainly searching. That's how they come to Judaism in the first place, right? Most people come out of Christianity, right, that I come in contact with and see that Christianity is a lie, etc. But today, for the most part, most people are not interested in searching for the truth. They don't care. It is true, it's not true, it doesn't matter. Right? They'll say it doesn't affect their lives. They just want to do what they want to do. They want to justify what they do, right? And that's it. So the mind, again, I would say 95% of the game today is that the mind has to know what the right thing is, right? Should search out what the right thing is. Why do I say it's 95% of the game? Because most people don't care. It's not an interest to them, right? Why bother? Eat, drink, and marry, lest tomorrow I die, right? Person's going to die tomorrow. He's going to die enjoying life. Why would a person, many times questions been asked, why would a person choose such a restrictive lifestyle, right? In certain ways. So we understand, it's not restrictive, it's what God wants, right? This is what he told us through the Torah, right? He passed it down to Moses, passed it down to us. So 95 or 98% of the game is knowing what the right thing to do is. Right? That is, people are searching. People want to know which direction should I go? What should I do? Right? Different things. So therefore, knowing what to do is one thing. Right? Going in the right direction, okay. Right? That's certainly one thing. That's certainly a priority. Right? You have to know how to go in the right direction, but you have to know that going in the right direction, there are obstacles. Right? There are obstacles. Now, I mentioned this many times that right now people think the hardest thing, is actually going through the process. Right? We'll talk about someone who wants to convert. They think the hardest thing is going through the process, and we always say that the evil inclination for someone who wants to convert really comes later. Now, why do we say it comes later? Doesn't a person have an evil inclination? Now, everybody has an evil inclination. It's true. But see, someone in the process of JIT, right, a Jew in training, the evil inclination is a totally different thing. Why? Because when a person going through the process, they keep more or they keep less. It's all practice. Essentially, right now, it's all practice. Whether you do more, whether you do less, doesn't matter. All right, question came up. I'm going to deal with it probably in a Q&A, this weekend. And that is, what about a person who's told that, they're forced to keep Torah mitzvahs during the process of conversion? I mean, who says? Right? Who says you're forced to keep anything? The day of the mikveh, you want to go eat lobster, shrimp, do all these things that, permissible for non-Jews? No one's going to stop you. Just the opposite. People tell you, come on, live it up. You got one day. Get it all out, let it rip. What's permissible? Now, how could someone say that? Very simple. Are you Jewish yet? Nope. You have a Jewish soul yet? Nope. Regardless, again, I'll get in trouble for this, but that's okay. The idea is people will say, I'm Jewish in my heart. In my heart, we'd say in Boston. I'm Jewish in my heart. And that's all that matters. And whether I go through the process or not, or going through in front of 3 rabbis in the mikvah, that doesn't matter. Well, it does. We hold it does. We don't care what's in your heart. We don't care about this idea. Person wants to be a quote unquote cardiac Jew. I've seen enough cardiac Jews in my life. Nauseating. More than nauseating. This is what my heart tells me. You know what? You think really God cares what's in your heart? What your heart tells you? Doesn't care. Right? I'll speak for God now. Put on my funny George Burns glass, my funny mustache. I'll speak for God right now. He doesn't care what's in your heart, in general. He cares what you do. He cares what the action is. Because words in my heart don't really mean anything. In most cases. There are certain things, words in my heart. If I don't verbalize them, it could be held against me. Okay. That's one thing. But in general, God doesn't really care what's in your heart. Doesn't matter. So the idea is it's about what I do. It's about my action. Right? The people will say, but I'm more Jewish than most people. Right? Non-Jews will say, in the process of conversion. So it might be true. So what does that have to do with anything? Yeah. If a person is born a Jew and they don't uphold their obligation, okay, they're at fault. No question about it, right? Most cases, they're at fault. And they're going to pay the price. Okay. But you see, for lack of a better term, membership has privileges. Membership has privileges, right? Like we'd say by American Express. Membership has privileges. Their obligation. If they don't uphold their obligation, and in many ways they may have the status of a non-Jew unless they repent, unless they do tshuva. Okay, I'll agree. See, when Jews do the right thing, they go all the way up. They do unbelievable things, to be close to God. On the other hand, when we do the wrong thing, we go all the way down to the ground. Nothing in between. Right? There's no idea of mediocrity over here. It's either I'm going up or I'm going down. We want to do the right thing, want to go on the right path, very good. God will help you, the Gemara says. You want to go in the wrong path, God will not stop you. He doesn't have any obligation to stop you. But this question comes up a lot. I hear it a lot. I'm more Jewish than these people. I do more of this, more of that, than these secular Jews. So what? Does that make you a Jew? Doesn't make you a Jew. Unless you prove you have Jewish blood, right? If you can prove it, okay, then you're Jewish. What's in your heart doesn't matter. What you feel doesn't matter. When does a person get that Jewish soul? And that's, a lot of according to Kabbalah here. They come out of the mikveh. They come out of the mikveh. Say, but, if a person's lacking that, doesn't God know what's in their heart? You're right. God knows what's in their heart. God 100% knows what's in their heart. And God will judge it as he sees fit. But see, people have to realize, I didn't finish the process. If the person didn't finish the process, they didn't finish. They didn't finish. Person goes through all the coursework to be a psychologist. They didn't finish. Yeah, are they a psychologist? No. Psychiatrist? No. Doctor? No. Lawyer? No. Got to pass the requisite exam. You got to go through the final process. Why is Judaism any different? I mean, people think they can't convert. It's too hard. They can't move, different things. They should be looked at as a Jew anyway. Says who? There's criteria. You have to listen to the rabbi, whatever. There's criteria. There's obligation. The Torah is not silly putty. Right? The Torah is definitely not silly putty. You can do whatever you want. You make it up as you go along. Right? There are repercussions. 100% there are repercussions for what you do. There's no question. I've heard people say, but Judaism makes it so hard. So pick another religion if you want. Go somewhere else. It's not going to change. It's not going to change. Something you have to work hard for is worth something. Something you give into on a platter, you take it for granted. I wouldn't say it's so important, right? If it's so easy. But again, every quote unquote religion has their criteria. What you have to do. Imagine person going to go, to a priest and say, listen, I'm really interested in accepting JC, all this, but I'm not putting any water on me. I'm not going to the ocean. I'm not going to the bathtub. You ain't putting water on me. So I don't know, maybe payment. They'll excuse it. Say, okay, you don't have to do it. Or, you go to an imam. You go to the Muslim, say, I want to convert. You stay on my conditions. They'll say you're an infidel. You deserve to die anyway. Yeah, but you say, I want to convert under my terms. Who's going to listen? Why would anybody listen? It's is it only by Judaism? It could be other people complain also. I don't know. I'm not comparing religions. And taking the survey, people, converted to another religion. Fine. At the end of the day, it's criteria. And the criteria is I have to do what God says. Right? That's the criteria. That's it. Person doesn't like it, my Rebbe would say, go eat kugel. You don't like it. It's the way it is. It's not going to change. Right? It's not going to change. It's not silly putty. It's not a 5-year option to renew. Right? I got to keep the laws. Oh, you got to tell me I'm a Jew in training. Okay. So you keep as much as you can. You do as much as you can. But when it comes to right before the mikvah, you a Jew yet? No. You're going to make all the blessings on everything you need to do. And this and that does not make you a Jew. Right? There's a formal process of what someone has to do. There are people who don't like it. People say it's too hard. Right? Yeah. Someone told me made it way too hard. People weren't welcoming this, that, and the other thing. So therefore, I'm going to step down and I'm going to go through reform conversion, conservative conversion. But I want to have that title being a Jew. Okay. But we won't recognize it. Yeah. But I want it anyway. You made it way too hard. We're looking for the cream of the crop. We're not looking for pretenders, right? We want people going to keep what they need to keep. And they're going to do it the right way, the way we tell them, right? The way the Torah wants them to do it. Yeah. So, it's not about what I want to do. Right? God is not interested in what I think. He's not interested in what my Rebbe thinks. He's not interested in what anybody thinks. This is what our obligation is. Oh, we have to understand it. We have to internalize it. We have to try and make sense of it. Okay. But at the end of the day, as we said by Parshas Korach, it's all divine decree. And if Korach would have understood all the mitzvahs of the divine decree, would he ever made a mistake come out against Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron HaKohen? Never. Never. Even by Pinchas, right, which we just read here in Israel. Even by Parshas Pinchas. Yeah, wherever he points out, people think, oh, the ultimate kanoi, the ultimate, zealot for Torah. But people forget he didn't act on his own. He did not act on his own. Yeah, what did Pinchas do before he acted? He asked Moshe Rabbeinu, what's the halacha? If I see such an action, what's the halacha? What do you do? Moshe Rabbeinu forgot. Pinchas remembered divine inspirations. This is the halacha, and that's what he did. And miraculously, he was saved. I mentioned this in my video this week. And he was saved many times miraculously. Zimri could have killed him. Pinchas had status of a rodef, of a pursuer. So the Gemara says many miracles happened. Pinchas didn't die. And if he would have killed him, it was self-sacrifice. Question is, the person have an obligation to put themselves in danger. Okay, that's what I spoke about this week. But what's my point? My point is Pinchas did not act on his own. Before Pinchas acted, what did he do? He asked Moshe Rabbeinu, what's the halacha? He asked Das Torah. He asked rabbinic authority what to do in such a case. He didn't act on his own. He didn't know. Oh, people don't realize that. People think he's just a vigilante. People think, he did whatever he wanted. The Torah says, do whatever you want. Not true. If a person knows what the halacha is, okay. If a person doesn't know or they're not sure, it's more complex. You got to ask. Pinchas asked the question, what to do. They just act on his own. Torah's not a free-for-all. Torah doesn't mean I do whatever I want when I want. That's not what it means. Not what it means over here. Right? Today, there's not even an issue because people don't care. In the secular world, they'll do what they want anyway. I'll make it up as I go along. I think this and I think that. So what? That's not Torah anymore. That's not Torah. They're parameters. They're guidelines. Again, it's not what we feel like doing. It's our obligation. That's our God-given obligation, what God tells us to do. But up until that point before conversion, person's not a Jew. Right? But I'll speak about that more Q&A this week. So let's go back. So the mind has to know what to do. Right? The mind has to know what to do. So I think that's the easy part. In many ways, even though most people don't care about anything today. Right? I think that for the most part is the easy part. If the person can learn what to do and how to do it. At the same time, it doesn't mean when they act on it and when they do it, it's going to be easy. Right? That's going to be that, there are obstacles over here. So I mentioned before, by a non-Jew, why the obstacles less in a certain way? Why would I say they're less and it's harder after conversion? It's harder after conversion. Why? Because now I get obligations. Even though you say, I take on the obligation very seriously now. Okay. But again, if a person wakes up tomorrow, they eat non-kosher, they don't pray, they spoke Lashon Hara, different things. Are they liable? No. You're not liable. Why not? These things don't apply to non-Jews. Yeah, so whatever they're obligated, quote unquote, now, they don't have obligation. Right? They're doing it as practice. Very good. What's the practice for? To get to the point where, eventually they're going to be able to convert. Now it's for real. So when it's practice, you want to pray, you don't want to pray, you eat kosher, you don't want to eat kosher, different things. Again, I think there's something important about consistency. But at the end of the day, the person can do as little as more as much as they want. That's what they can do. They're under no obligation. So that's easier. Why is it easier? Why do I say it's easy? Now, some people tell me, it's very hard, because, you're going to learn all these things and different things. Okay. But at the end of the day, does a non-Jewish male have to pray 3 times a day? No. Can he pray whenever he wants, early in the morning, later in the morning, whatever it is? 100%. You don't have these same obligations. So therefore, if you don't have the same obligations, the evil inclination is totally different. I'm not saying there's no evil inclination. You got plenty of things working against a person. Family, moving to a community, all kinds of things. Livelihood, health, million things. Person has to deal with. Okay. But at the same time, what do I have? Same time, what we're going to say is that the obligation is much less, if non-existent. So it's easier. You want to pray, you don't want to pray. It's too hard. Different things. You want to take a break. Okay. You're allowed to do that. But once a person converts, different story. Then it's all for real. Then all the obligations are real. All the mistakes are real now. Yeah, I would say that for the sake of consistency, I think it's important to get into a routine. And even if the person's going to pray and say, wow, pray in the morning, it'll take me forever. So you say less things with more intention than more things with less intention. But you should have a certain routine. Yeah, you should try and pray at the same time every day. Know what blessings you're making. Learn how to keep Shabbos. You should have certain consistency. What you pray, what you learn. Set up a schedule. Even if a person works, doesn't matter. Find time to learn, right? But be consistent. Because if you're haphazard, you're all over the place. Do a little bit here, a little bit there, there's that, and there's no continuity, that's bad. I would say 100% that's bad. We just said you don't have obligation. Okay. But you're in the process. If a person is in the process of conversion, right? Or someone coming back to Judaism, should be consistent. Right, 100%. For secular Jew to be consistent is more important, much more important, because you have obligations. Even if you don't know, you still have obligations. You have to learn. You have to know what to do. Right, so that's different. Okay, what I'm saying for a non-Jew in the process of conversion is a different issue, totally different issue. And if a person's just all over the place, trying to acquire everything in one shot, or whatever, making up for lost time. Okay, you got to give yourself a little bit of space, a little bit of time, but at the same time, a person should be consistent. Not so easy. But that consistency, again, obligatory? No. Right? I don't want to be misquoted here. Right? It's not obligatory by any stretch. I'm saying it's good advice. It's a good thing. Right? I definitely think it's a good thing. Right? Because you get yourself in the certain, you have certain momentum, you have certain consistency. It's important. Everyone thinks it's important, right? So now, what do I have? I got the mind telling me what I should do. What my obligations are, so to speak. I got my heart telling me what. It's the opposite. The heart is telling me, let me do what I want. Let me enjoy life. Let me look at this. Let me watch that. Let me enjoy life. Let me enjoy life. Don't be so restrictive. Right? That's what the evil inclination is saying. Just let it all hang out. Don't worry about it. You do more, you do less. Forget about what we just said about consistency. Enjoy. Okay? You want to learn a little bit? Learn a little bit. But enjoy. So you have this disconnect. The mind telling you one thing. You have the heart. Telling you something else. Right? The heart telling you something else. Okay. So that's hard. Because the mind wants to go in one direction. The heart wants you to go in the other direction. Now, this is something the Ramchal says in Derech Hashem. Person has an evil inclination, Jew or non-Jew, doesn't matter. You have an evil inclination. There's a fight between body and soul. There's always a fight between body and soul. Right? This fight between body and soul continues with the person from the day they're born to the day they die. Doesn't change. Does not change. the body wants to go after the physical world, because the body is created from the four corners, the dust to the four corners of the earth. And the soul wants to do spiritual things, wants to keep Torah and mitzvahs. Conflict. There's always going to be that conflict. Sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's harder, so to speak. So the heart having the effect on the body has unbelievable influence and can destroy them. Right? Anyone, who's gone after the body way too much, and any number of things can destroy them, make you depressed. Why are so many people depressed in the world? Okay, we live in a messed up world today. It's true. I mean, we've helped mess it up even more, right? But think about it. I had someone tell me years ago, like, wow, you live this more restricted lifestyle, and you can't do this, and you can't do that. I can do whatever I want, and I'm more miserable than you. I said, yeah, it kills you, doesn't it? I said, it's hard to fathom. It's hard to fathom, but it makes sense. Why? Someone who can do whatever they want. I'm not saying they're wealthy. They don't have to be wealthy, right? Whether they struggle or not doesn't matter with livelihood. That's not even the point. They can do what they want. They can take what they want and go where they want. They're not restricted. What they better. They're not restricted in any way. Yeah, but when you give that type of freedom, that basically anything goes, we see, without even delving into that, we see what goes on in the world today, right? So people do whatever they want. Are people happy? People, whistling Dixie over here, doing the jitterbug, doing the moonwalk. I don't know if anyone does moonwalk anymore. A lot of people in Prozac just trying to get through the day. But, so you might think, oh, in the ultra-Orthodox community, and anyone wanting to convert, we should all be on Prozac because it's so restrictive. And there are so many problems, right? Like, someone will say, hey, because of the restriction, let's say, when it comes to, male and female, say, oh, look, guys can't control themselves and become pedophiles. Yeah. Normally, someone is a pedophile, right? At least from what I understand, saying with a grain of salt. That is, they've been abused themselves. So they act on that abuse. They say, see, you have problems in your own community, because you separate between men and women and all this. And, yeah, let's analyze. Are there pedophiles in every community in the world? Yes. There are pedophiles everywhere. Everywhere. Right? All you have to do is go online, your own community, find out who's a pedophile in your own area. Yeah. There are any places that don't have pedophiles? They're going to say, but Judaism shouldn't have. You're right. 100% right. The Orthodox Jews, a big problem. Huge problem. I understand the church, huge problem. I mean, it's just insane. Say, like, a priest is married to God, so they can't marry anyone else. But they're the worst perpetrators of this. Makes sense. You give someone the greatest urge in the world, say, nope, can't have it. What do you think they're going to do? Like, who's going to live this lifestyle? I'm going to say it's impossible. It's impossible. We're humans. We have certain drives. Give someone that strong a drive, say, no, can't use it at all. Right? We're not saying use it in the right way. They're saying you can't use it at all. Strongest urge ever given to man. You're going to tell me you're going to put it away? Kind of hard thing. It's a guy talking. Yeah, got to put it away. Why do you think there's so many problems? Yeah, it makes sense. So you're going to say, but you have a problem in your own community. Okay, there are issues. We're not going to say not. But every community has the issue. Right? You're going to say, oh, it's your, you got your own issues because of this, that, and the other thing. There are issues, okay. Right? But most people doing this have been acted upon as a kid. That's why they're doing it. Yeah. And it could be an Orthodox Jew doing that. They're pedophiles. And yeah, they have problems. Serious problem. Yeah. That's not a problem with the Torah. See, people make that mistake. Say, see, the Torah is so restricted. Now, look at this problem. And what about everyone else who doesn't live a restrictive lifestyle? Everybody else in the world. All right, forget the Bible thumpers and whatever. People, quote unquote, attached to religion. But think about it. Everybody else is, all the quote unquote atheists in the world or agnostics in the world. They're, in their communities, in their left-wing messed up communities. Yeah, get not politically correct here. Yeah, in all these messed up places, there are no pedophiles, there are no rapists. There are no people do anything wrong. Right? Pedophiles is a good example. Because you have such a free society. People can do all kinds of things that are messed up. But again, people say, no, pedophile is something specific. They're acted upon as a kid, right? So to speak, it's not their fault, but this is how it happened, blah, blah, blah. Okay. You're going to say, but you also have the issue. Well, my kesher. What in the world's the connection? There's an issue. There should be less of an issue in our community. For sure, there should be less of an issue. Right? Because morality is stressed very much. Should be much less of an issue. Yeah. We're going to say it should be a non-issue. I agree. Should be. There are a lot of things in Judaism should be a non-issue, but we have an evil inclination. Everybody has an evil inclination, right? But someone will make the statement, I'm sure. Someone's going to say, but in your community also. And they're going to claim, because we're so restrictive. Right? So I'm going to flip the switch, as I usually do, and I'll say, wait a minute. If we're so restrictive, yeah, so I haven't done a study on it, right? But according to that, the numbers should be much higher. They should be much higher than the average. Now, if they are, again, I haven't done the research, but if they are much higher, yeah, then we have a problem. Right? Then we have the problem. It has to be, dealt with. No question. If they're on par with regular statistics, or even below the norm, so let's say better. Let's say it's below the norm. What does that say? Okay, there might still be an issue, but it's much less compared to the rest of the world. What if it's the same? So if I would say like this, if it's the same statistics as everybody else, yeah, everywhere else in the world, we have the same stats. We have the same stats. And what would I say? Right? I would say like this. I would say, first of all, if we have more, it's definitely an issue, right? I mean, even if we're the same, it's still an issue. And even if it's less, right, it should be non-existent. But we're humans. It's not a problem with the Torah here. But what's my point? My point is that when you live in a quote unquote a free society, and people can do what they want whenever they want, so to speak. How does this happen? So you're saying there are people that are sick, okay? People can't control themselves, they rape women, this and that. Okay, it's also bad, right? I'm not going to equate them. It's also bad. People just have no control. This is what they want, whatever. But, it's also bad. But the idea is, when you live in a society that has no restrictions, you're going to say, but it's against the law. They'll go to jail. True. But when you live in that type of free society, people do what they want. Things go unrestricted. Yeah. There are consequences. No one's going to say not. There are consequences. For sure there are consequences. But if you don't have any checks and balances, and I can do whatever I want, what should stop a person? What in the world should stop someone from doing that? You say, well, it's morally wrong. Yeah. Now, if we get into this discussion, which we're not really going to get into, right? But why is it morally wrong? Yeah. Say because society says it's wrong. It's against the law. Well, can't the law change? The law can change for better or for worse, right? It definitely can change. Homosexuality at some point was forbidden. Some places go to jail for it. Today is a whole different thing. Very different thing. So when society is unlimited and I can do whatever I want, things get abused. Right? Money can get abused. There can be sexual perversion. There are many things that can get abused over here. But that being the case, you don't have an anchor to say what's right and what's wrong. Because morality is relative. It's relative. What was morally forbidden, 80, 90 years ago, today, totally different. It's a different world. What changed? People decided it should change. But it changed for the worse. Definitely for the worse. Right? But the other idea is, I would think, and that was really the original point, is that someone says you're living a restricted lifestyle. And I can do whatever I want, and I'm miserable. Why? Because an unrestricted lifestyle does not mean you're going to be happy. Whether you have money, whether you don't have money. Yeah, what are you living for? What's meaning in life to a person? And even with this LGBTQ community, running wild all over, if you would ask most people, right, seen this in print, yeah, you'd ask a lot of these people, do they wish they were straight? A lot of them would say yes. A lot of them would say yes. They didn't necessarily sign up for what they are. Because, you look at what the Torah says. Man's going to cling to his wife, not to another man, or a woman to a woman. Right? That's not what the norm is. But a lot of these people, they don't fit in. So now they made a huge movement to justify what they do. Yeah, but, what are the stats going to say? The vast majority? I don't know what the stats are. But there are people who will say, I wish I was the other way. I wish I was quote unquote normal, but I'm not. So now they go to, to the other extreme. So the question becomes, if we're living this restrictive lifestyle, quote unquote, we have meaning every day of our lives. We make blessings, we keep kosher, we keep Shabbos, we do things, that enhance not only our belief in God, but serving Him and doing what we need to do. So that's huge. So you say other people have meaning also in, like what? Like what's their real meaning? So some people say family. Some family values, so to speak. Okay. Yeah. So is life just about family? I mean, some people would say so. Family's everything. Okay, but is that what I'm living for? Is that what I get up every morning for? Each person in and of themselves has a direct connection to God. Don't need intermediaries, don't need anything else. So even if you didn't have family, you didn't have people around you, related, whatever. Let's say like a person came out of the Holocaust, family wiped out. Okay, they start again, very good. But at that point, they're alone in the world. And when they're alone in the world, what's their obligation? Whatever God tells them, their obligation is. Whatever the Torah says. It's not just, I identify with family, that's it. That's my obligation in the world. And if you don't have family, then what? Yeah. Or let's say you're not friendly with family. Family can be an albatross, we always say. So let's say you don't have a connection to family. So it's like you're alone in the world. Right? So you knock off family. Okay, so what else? What else is important for a person to live for? I don't know. A person will say, I'm into macrobiotics. I'm into being a true vegan, this, that, and, I'm going to spread the world. Okay, is that what they're living for? Is that the most important thing? People come up with things. You need something to get you out of bed in the morning, right? We'll call that you have to make a living. You have to do something to put money on the table, okay? Food on the table, okay? So you're going to say, but I have no choice. That's where I'm holding in the world. Fine. But even with that, then what? So I live to eat, I eat to live. Yeah, and nothing else? Nothing else out there to do? So people make things around it. They make a hobby. That's their life. That's what they live. You're going to say Torah does that also. No, we live for Torah. People do all kinds of things within the parameters of Torah. Yeah. But at the same time, Torah envelops our entire life. From we wake up in the morning and we go to sleep. What I'm supposed to think, what I'm supposed to do, how I'm supposed to help others, how I'm supposed to keep mitzvahs, all these things. These other things are just okay. They look at, they'll put it as an important thing in their life. Yeah. That's what they're living for. They'll say, you live for what you live for, I live for what I live for. Okay, but that's not the point. The point is, what does God want us to live for? What does he want us to live for? He wants us to live for him. He wants us to keep what he says and to do what he does. Right? So the heart itself can go down a very bad path and can take the person with him. Just like the heart controls everything in the body. So if the heart is not healthy physically or spiritually, can totally wreak havoc for themselves and everyone else around them. So the heart's trying to go in a lot of different directions. The mind's trying to keep it at bay. You need both to be in sync. But you see, there's an evil inclination. So Gemara says everyone's got an evil inclination. God created an antidote. What's the antidote? Torah, but there's a caveat. Learning Torah alone doesn't get rid of the evil inclination. What do I need? I need God's help as well. You say, well, I'm so weak I can't get over my evil inclination. Everyone's got whatever they have. What do they have to go through? All right, no question. So therefore, what? The heart controls the body. The mind knows what to do, let's say. So the mind now has to work on controlling the body. Meaning, the mind has to know, I need to learn Musar. I need to control character traits. Secular world, you ever hear about controlling character traits? Yeah, somebody say, okay, you can't act on whatever you do, this and that. Not a popular thing to say. As long as you're not hurting anybody, what's the problem? That's what people will say. Not hurting anybody. All right. We're not hurting anybody, there's no problem. Oh, there might be moral issues, might be other types of issues. But if you don't control character traits, it spirals out of control. People say what they want, they do what they want, they curse and this and that. They're not in control. Not only that, they go according to whims of society around them. I told this person who says I live such a restricted lifestyle, which I might. I said, yeah, but you're not individual enough to say, I don't care what society says. People say it. Oh, I don't listen to what society says. I do whatever I want. Yeah. Society can be very powerful. And where you hang out with and who you hang out with can have a tremendous effect on the person. Someone goes to, I'll give an example. Someone goes to university today. University is a hotbed of what? Anti-Semitism, anti-Israel, anti-Zionism, etc. Unless the Jews very strong in their beliefs, and what they think, and they're not going to be affected by it. Okay. Yeah, but they're afraid to say boo because either they'll get beaten up or who knows what. Yeah, college camp is a hotbed of this. And, a lot of Jews go to college, go to university. So they're totally affected. Totally affected by what society tells them. And even if they were pro-Zionists, they could be convinced otherwise. Maybe some will, some won't. It's a very, very powerful movement. Extremely powerful. Forget all the other stuff on university campus and morality and all that's a whole different issue. Not even talking about that. Right? So therefore, a person can be subjected to society around them. That's why we say, person wants to go to college, if you have to, whatever, do it online. Going to the place is problematic. Modesty reasons, heresy, plenty of things. Plenty of things. We are subjected to so many things society throws at us. So therefore, it's crucial to attach ourselves to good friends, good neighbors, etc. Right? As we spoke about this entire Mishna. So they can help us. We spoke about the previous Mishna. This Mishna is about, why, if a person has bad neighbors or a wicked friend or whatever. right? These things can have a totally negative effect against us. Take us into a totally different realm we don't want to go. In many ways, they'll have more of an influence on us than we will have on them. Even if we think we may have, we have, more influence, etc. Right? The bottom line over here is we're subjected to what society says. And thank God Judaism, is not politically correct. It's not supposed to be politically correct. Because we believe it's the absolute word of God. That's it. Right? Whatever God tells us to do, that's what we do. You think Pinchas did what he did. He was lauded by all the tribes, made fun of. Look, your grandfather, was busy fattening up, animals and this and that for idolatry. Like, who are you? God says, he goes back to Arna Cohen. Pinchas could have been killed many times over. What happened? And he wasn't. Yeah, self-sacrifice, tremendous amount of self-sacrifice. So we ourselves have to have that self-sacrifice. Not worry what people say or do. Because we always say sticks and stones. Yeah, Lashon Hara hurts. People speaking badly against us hurts. We'll say that, they'll say we're closed-minded, we're this, and we should do this, and we should do that, and any little thing that a person does, quote unquote, that's wrong, in their eyes, we get chastised for. It can be lonely, 100%. But at the end of the day, I saw my Rebbe brought down this week's parsha. It says, forget what we said in the name of, but someone came to the Pirke Avos. Someone came to the Rav Yisrael Zev Soloveitchik, blessed memory, and son of Rav Chaim Brisker is one of the Torah giants of the last generation, right? Certainly according to everybody, and there's a whole thing about about Pinchas and what people were saying and different things. So person told the Pirke Avos, he said just like it says by Lavan, right? Yaakov says, I was by Lavan, im Lavan Yargarti, in all the mitzvahs I kept. He said, Lavan I lived with, but I kept all the mitzvahs. So one explanation he gave is, what do you mean kept all the mitzvahs? Lavan tried to uproot everything. Right? Tried to trick him a lot of times, different things. Try to uproot everything. So comes along Yaakov Avinu and says, I beat him. He says, I beat him. I didn't learn from his actions. I did not learn from his actions. Okay. Why not? It's like I had all these animals and I was guarding all these animals, taking care of them. I looked at my father-in-law as an animal. I looked at him as a donkey. I looked at him as a horse, as a goose, I don't know, as a sheep. So somebody like that, again, this is what you think. You don't say to this. You don't say this to them, right? But you're looking at these people like they're animals. Or like one rabbi said, they're all insane. So, so the Pirke Avos actually, he liked this explanation. In other words, with Lavan I lived, but I didn't learn from his actions. No, why? Because I didn't look at him as a person. I looked at him as being subhuman. I looked at him as being like, like one of the geese. Like a mouse. Like a horse. He said animals. Like, like a donkey, like a horse. No offense to any animal lovers out there, right? What is he saying? What was this person telling the Pirke Avos? Why didn't he learn? Why didn't Yaakov learn from his actions? Because he looked at him like an animal. We're going to learn some, what are we going to learn from an animal? We're going to say, oh, but come on. Certain things, it says by King Solomon, we learn from the ant, your modesty from the ant, and it's fine. We're not talking about that. We're talking about this person's no better than an animal. The person's no better than an animal. I'm going to get upset. I'm going to get upset with this, I'm going to get upset what this cow said to me. what this donkey, what this hippo said, yap, yap, yap. Okay. That's like, so this person told the Pirke Avos, that's why Yaakov did not get cut off in anything that Lavan did. Because he looked at him for who he is. Who is he? He's an animal. What are you going to get upset about? He's an animal, period. That's why I didn't learn from him. Right? So these other people can say, they say terrible things. They're obnoxious. I have plenty of things said to me. Yeah. People say whatever they say, so. But you'll tell me it's annoying. You just want to shut them up. You're right. I just heard a lecture from somebody recently saying, yeah, you can answer all their questions. You got to give them a way out. You can't just flatten them because they say, okay, you beat me. They won't have anything to do with anything. Right? They have to give them like a little bit of a way out. So at least they can save face. Because even if you flatten them like a pancake, you gotta, it doesn't help them come close to Judaism. You just flatten them like a pancake. I mean, they may deserve it. They may very well deserve it. Try and give them a way out, so to speak. But in any case, these people, we've said many times, the way to look at family and friends that are obnoxious or say terrible things. These people, right? So I would have told you before, one of my rabbis said, look at them like they're insane. Someone who's insane is mental illness, not going to take them seriously. No matter what they say, not going to take what they say seriously. All the more so, like this person said to the Pirke Avos, right? Lavan was an animal. He looked at him like he's an animal. So if he's an animal, I'm going to get upset, right? I'm going to look at him like a pig, having fun in the mud. Okay. I'm going to get upset, a pig in the mud. Yeah, it doesn't matter what they say. We have to have a backbone. We have to understand. You might, a person would say, but they're blaspheming against God. So sometimes you might have to say something. There are times, even if they won't listen, you have an obligation. You have an obligation to say something. Even if we don't necessarily know how to give rebuke and different things, you may have an obligation to say something. Depends on what's said and the time and whatever. But at the same time, a person may say something. Why am I going to let it get under my skin? The person's got a 25 IQ. They're mentally incompetent. Yeah, they're mentally challenged. They're going to say they bump into you, they slobber on you. You're going to say that's annoying. True. Very true. And they have a 25 IQ. They're like a 5-year-old. I'm going to take what a 5-year-old says seriously? People can say very cruel things. I'm not saying no. And they can sting, but I'm telling you how to take away the sting. You can take away the sting, this person's an animal. You look at them like a pig waddling in the mud. Right? Having a great time in the mud. Okay. Go on, Piggy, go ahead. Give me your best shot. Give me your best shot. And again, I could care less who they are. I don't care if they're family members. I don't care if they're parents. I don't care if they're siblings. I don't care, God forbid, they're children. Older children that obviously know better. So what? Oh, someone will say, but we're parents do it. So I have to respect them to a point. Do I have to honor them? No. Do I have to stand up for them when they walk in the room? No. Right? Other things of honor, I don't have to do. Yeah, respect. Okay, they brought you into this world. But a lot of times, I would say, these things come up like this, and they're really obnoxious. You got to limit your time. You got to, you got to break the chain here. Got to get out of Dodge. Right? If you're living with them or if you're not living with them, you speak to them much less. That's it. And then someone will say, but I feel bad doing that. Well, what's better? Your mental stability? Your avodas Hashem, you serving God, or being hit over the head. Being hit over the head for believing in God and keeping mitzvahs. I learned this a long time ago. And it's a hard lesson to learn. Yeah. All right, one of my rabbis told me, comes to family, you get nothing. Just realize you'll get nothing. Yeah, but you want to show them, you don't want them to find out forever, different things. They don't want, all they do is combat you, make fun of you, say different things. I got enough issues. I don't need another hole in my head. Do I have to feel guilty? I don't have to feel guilty. Yeah. Could I potentially do more, try and bring them closer? Maybe God will have a claim against, and I'll say, you should have done more. You should have tried more, this, that. You don't know what you could have done. Maybe. Maybe that'll be a claim. Could be. Hope not. Right? But in the end, I have to go that far. My rabbis told me not that way. They told me 100% not that way. Keeping connection for certain things, but that's it. That's it. What do you need it for? And it could be parents also. Yeah. Do I have to feel bad? I don't have to feel bad. They do it to themselves. They don't want, this is what they do. So, okay, you have to react. And it can be a totally unhealthy situation. I had to learn things the hard way before I can even see it. And having a proper total outlook. If I would have this proper total outlook when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, it would have made life totally different. Totally different. I would have looked at it totally different. But I didn't. Okay, took me longer to learn. But I learned it. See what it is. Look at it the way I look at it. I'm not going to say it's not sad. It's sad, but what are you going to do? Person's been dealt with a hand, mentioned this many times. See, there are questions. I'll take them in a second. Yeah. You've been dealt with a certain hand. You're playing poker. Yeah. You got a bunch of low cards. No matches. No same suits. You have nothing. You're dealt with the hand that you're dealt with. So what do? Well, in this case, you're playing poker. You fold because you don't have anything. Can't fold in life. Right? You can't just hide under the covers. Right? Can't fold in life. So, okay. This is the hand God dealt us because that's what he wanted from us. He wanted us to grow in other ways by being in this type of family. We're going to see in Pirke Avos later, it says, about 103, where it says, you're born against your will, you die against your will. Do I have a choice who my parents are? No. Do I have a choice who my siblings are? No. Do I have a choice of socioeconomic situation? No. Not in control of anything. Anything. Right? You also die. You also leave this world against your will. No one wants to leave this world in general. Right? Nonetheless, in parentheses, Kaufman would say you still have to live. You have to live. And it might be hard, but you know what? Everybody's dealt with a different hand. Everybody's dealt with whatever, their own situations, their own family situations, other things. We're not in control. Totally not in control. But one thing for sure is that what surrounds us affects us. If you're surrounded by the wrong people, they'll affect you the wrong way. Now, if you're surrounded by the right people, you'll be affected in a positive way. Now, does that mean there's no evil inclination? No, of course not. Evil inclination is still going to exist. But the bottom line is I got to fight what's around me. And sometimes the only way to succeed is to get away from it. I've had people say, would you tell people to leave their families and not have anything to do with them? I said, yes. It depends. Depends on the situation. If it's a bad situation, sure. No one has to be in that type of situation. Right? You say, but, everyone have a better connection. I'm trying this. They bend over backwards. You'll get nothing, most likely. Right? In this situation. The situation I'm thinking of. Right? You won't get anything. Right? See, I have an issue with this also. Like, you're not going to get anything in return. It's not going to be a sanctification of God's name. Why should I bend over backwards? Why should I inconvenience myself? You're going to say, no, this, that, there. People want acceptance. I want to beat it out of people's heads. You may never get it. I'm not doing it to be cruel. You just may never get acceptance. So no matter what you do, no matter how much you bend over backwards, you may get nothing. Most likely you get nothing. I'm not saying everybody across the board, but a lot of times you won't get anything. Right? They don't expect anything. So you could say, when I was growing up among adults, people would say, expect nothing, whatever you get is a bonus. That's a pretty lousy way to look at the world. Yeah, but at the same time, person has to realize limitations that are out there. They have to realize that sometimes they have to, you have to cut the chain. You have to cut the links sometimes. Or not totally, but a person needs to go on their own spiritual path. They need to do what they need to do. And people are going to sit there and give you a hard time and make fun of this and that. I don't care who they are. What do you need it? And the person decides they're willing to take it because, family, and family's everything, and blood is thicker than water. Okay. Person can do that. There'll be repercussions. The person can do it. Not saying not. Yeah, I don't think it's healthy. In many ways, depends how bad it is. So some people, I wouldn't say cut off relations. Cut off any relationship here. Depends. Depends how bad it is. Yeah, but we have to attach, and secular people would say the same thing. They're not going to attach themselves with people, with people that think differently than they do. In many ways. They can say they're so open-minded, but they're going to hang around with people that are like them, that are more like them. They might not agree on everything. But you're not going to have, let's say a secular Jew. They ain't moving into an ultra-Orthodox community. Why? They disagree with the lifestyle. They don't want the lifestyle. They want to live with people like themselves or with non-Jews or whatever. Right? So, someone once said that to me, and that's what I should have answered. They said, how many secular Jews are you friends with? Well, not too many, unless I'm trying to draw them closer. Yeah, I should have flipped the script, and said, and this is really the answer, how many Orthodox Jews are you friendly with? Why don't you go live in a community with Orthodox Jews? That's the answer. Not that, you don't do, yeah, you're right, because we hang around people that think like we do. Some more, some less, whatever it is, but you're being part of a community that thinks like you do, or want to think like you do, or want to go in that direction. Why do I go live with secular Jews? Unless I'm trying to draw them closer. Why would I do that? Why would I subject my kids to that in general? I mean, there are people that do, but that's different reasons. Are they ever going to do that and become part of an ultra-Orthodox community? Never. So they'll flip the script and they say, you don't hang out with secular Jews. See, you don't hang out with Orthodox Jews either. Right? It goes both ways. You hang out with people that think like you, that are more like you. And if they're not like you, you won't hang out with them. So society, and who we hang out with and what's around us is crucial. It's crucial. That's why we live in our own communities, for exactly that reason. Yeah, I see there are a bunch of questions here. Somebody asks, I have reason to believe my mom's mom was Jewish. Okay. And I'm working with a genealogist. Yeah. Something working on Shabbos, not planning to stop until I get close to officially starting my conversion. Will that be affected by me converting my mom's heritage, my grandmother's heritage? Or I still consider a Gentile? Well, it depends. Right? It depends over here. Genealogy, again, there are people that caught up in genealogy that, DNA tests and all that. I'm just going to say straight out, most rabbinical courts will not even look at the information, whatever you bring. You have to have real compelling evidence. And even if you do, they're probably not going to look at it anyway. Right? In general. Now, if they have reason to believe that you have Jewish blood, like seriously, you have Jewish blood for, let's say, your grandmother before she died said we're Jewish and this is this was our family name and this is where we came from and this and that, that's going to be verified. That 100% has to be verified. So, it comes something like that, okay, that's a different issue. That's a different issue, but, if it's really compelling evidence, right, then the rabbi would say, okay, we really think you're Jewish. We're going to push through this conversion very, relatively quickly, but you're not allowed to break Shabbos. That's when it'll affect. But up until that point, you're not a Jew, right? So working on Shabbos doesn't matter. That doesn't affect anything, right? But you do, you're right, when you get closer to conversion. I would say before you get closer to conversion because you won't have any problems. You want to let them know, this is what you're going to do, unless you're going to change jobs or whatever. But you got to make that clear. You got to make that clear. So looking into lineage has nothing to do with whether you keep Shabbos or not in general. Why? Unless there's good reason to think you might be Jewish, it's not going to affect it. Now, I've had this question before a number of times. Someone will say, well, maybe I'll find the evidence. Maybe you will. But, and what happens if they found the evidence, 2 years down the line? 2 years down the line, they find evidence, that they were really Jewish. Yeah, what about all the times before that? And what about the rabbi told them, or rabbis that told them, you still should break Shabbos? So are they guilty after the fact? Gonna go 2 years back? They don't have evidence, right? Someone doesn't have evidence, then we understand that they're a non-Jew. Period. Doesn't matter if they find it 2 years later, 5 years later. I would say better go through conversion anyway. Forget about lineage. We'll get into it if you want. I'm not saying not, right? But go through conversion anyway, just to be safe. Just to be safe, unless someone says 100%, they know they can say 100% that you're a Jew and there's no doubts. And even if they would, you better get it in writing, right? 100% get it in writing because you don't have any questions later, right? That is no question. That is no question. So again, someone wants to look into lineage, let them look into lineage. DNA tests don't really mean a whole lot, right? And rabbinical courts are not really, they're not going to listen to this information, a lot of them. A lot of them that I know, has to be really, really compelling. But I know of rabbinical courts that, someone brought, hundreds of documents, didn't even look at it, didn't even open it up. They don't hold of it in general. And it's a benefit. It's a benefit for a person to go through conversion than be stuck in limbo. Yeah, and that's what a person will be. They'll be stuck in limbo. I find the evidence. I will find the evidence. This, that. I know of a story, somebody that, for a lot of reasons, they were probably Jewish. A lot of reasons. Didn't have anything to do with DNA. For a lot of different reasons. And even the top rabbinical court for conversion in America did not say they should not break Shabbos. They said they're probably Jewish, but they didn't have enough evidence. They didn't have enough evidence to prove it. Yeah. But they themselves said, I've heard this a number of times, different cases that have nothing to do with DNA. But other circumstances that seems to say that they're Jewish. Okay. Yeah, but it had no effect. They're still not a Jew. Doesn't matter. They're not a Jew. I'm not saying people can't look into it. You want to look into it, look into it. But it's to your advantage, right? It's to your advantage to convert, and not be in limbo. And what happens later on, you find out that you're Jewish. Very good. So you found the evidence, but it doesn't have an effect. We don't look at it. We don't look at it in retrospect as they say they were Jewish 30 years before, and you told them to do this, that. No, they're not, God's not going to look at it that way. Right? From my understanding, other people's understanding, that's not the way it works. The way it works is, what do we have right now? What's in front of me? What's in front of me is, potential information that could say, yeah, maybe they are. Okay. Is it compelling enough? No. So if it's not compelling enough, you're not a Jew. Do you have to wait and try and look for it for years and years? No. You want to, you can. I'm not saying no. A person can keep digging and digging and digging. They want to have a certain level of clarity, but I'll tell you, while you're doing that, you go through conversion anyway. Conversion's not going to hurt, just the opposite. Just the opposite. Because any community person moves to, obviously, if you don't look Jewish, you're going to have to show criteria. You're going to say, oh, I had on my grandmother's side, whatever, my mother's side, and blah, blah, blah. And this is, you open up a whole Pandora's box. It's going to be led to question. So you bring all the documentation and show this, and that's what the rabbi said. Okay. If you have a conversion document, from a proper rabbinical court, that's 10 times better. 50 times better. Yeah, there's no limbo. You got it, you did it. Okay. Now, later on, you find out you're Jewish, fine. I'm not saying you can't look into it at the same time. You should, right? You can do both. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying whether you find out you're Jewish or not, it's better to have the conversion anyway. And nothing happens. Nothing happens retroactively. Nothing. Yeah. There's no punishments, not for the rabbi that told him to do that, no punishment from God. Because, you were Jewish and this and that, so this, whatever. You're liable to do certain things, you didn't do it. Because you weren't told or whatever. It's not going to happen. We live in this world. That's what God expects. Doesn't expect you to jump through hoops. When you can't jump through hoops, you don't know. You don't know. You don't have the evidence. You don't have the evidence. You want to look for it? Okay. I'm not saying not. Person wants to, fine. Right? But it's a benefit, a huge benefit to go through conversion same time. And have that piece of paper and you find out later you're Jewish, fine. It can be looking for years. People may never find the evidence. They may never find the evidence. But we're not worried about what happens if I do 20 years later, 5 years later, 2 years later. We don't look at it that way. Nobody looks at it that way. We're not going to be held accountable. All right? No Orthodox rabbi in that case is going to be held accountable. Not at all. Not at all. If there's something there, and there's something seriously there, right? Then a rabbi or rabbinical court would say, okay, we really think you're Jewish. They're going to convert you on the spot, right? Very quickly, because they really think you have all the evidence to be Jewish. Fine. Then you can't break Shabbos. But until that point, I don't have to worry about it. I don't worry about it at all. So some people will say, well, just in case I might, okay. Person can be stringent on themselves. They don't have to be. Right? That's what we're saying here. You absolutely do not have to be. In any way, shape, or form. You want to be, it's your choice. And even if you find the evidence later, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what happened before. It doesn't matter. Any rabbi said, don't desecrate Shabbos. You have to desecrate Shabbos. They're not liable here. Because you look at the evidence, what I have right now. And if the evidence does not show conclusively that a person's a Jew, you're not going to say retroactively they're liable. It doesn't make any sense logically. It doesn't make any sense at all logically according to Torah. Again, could a person have evidence? They could. They could look into it. Again, I'm not saying don't look into it, but I'm saying realize that that's not the end to end all things. And if someone takes my advice, they'll thank me for the advice, because having a conversion document is better than trying to have to prove it every time you go somewhere. And then if you have kids and whatever, it's you have a document, that's, let's say, it's a proper rabbinical court, you don't have any issues. You don't have any issues. Cherry on top, you found out you were Jewish, very good. You found the evidence. Okay. It'll take a lot of time to find the evidence. Right? Some people more, some people less. Right? But going through the process, you're gonna have to do anyway. Because even if you find out you're Jewish, you have to learn what it means to be Jewish. So the people out there that say, I'm not gonna, I want to be careful, cover all my bases till I find out. Okay. A person can do that. I'm not saying they can't do it. They can do it, but I just want to make clear that even if they find out they were Jewish, there's no liability on anybody before that. Right? There's no liability if anyone said you have to break Shabbos. None. Even if it's 10 years later or whatever. Doesn't matter. There's no liability. Because you look at the evidence right now, and the evidence doesn't show anything. I mean, it might, let's say better. It might show something, okay. But do I have to worry about that? I don't have to worry about it. If there's such compelling evidence, and then the person is told they cannot desecrate Shabbos because they're probably Jewish, okay. But until the point, I can assume they're not Jewish. right? Because there's such a thing in Talmudic law. It's called the chazaka. I look at things the way they are now. I don't look for problems. We're not interested in looking for problems. We look at it at face value. So right now it's hearsay. Right? Right now it's up in the air. Okay. So what's the status? It's up in the air. So we look at it as you're a non-Jew, period. That's the way we look at it. You want to look into it? Fine. I'm not saying not, but again, it's to your benefit to have a conversion document anyway. Right? You have much less problems going to communities and everything else. Much less problems. There's a question here before. Someone here mentioned, even the process of conversion is still bad for speaking Lashon Hara. Okay, so again, does Lashon Hara apply to non-Jews or not? No, doesn't apply. Now, they're more sensitive to it. They want to keep it more. Okay, that's fine, right? And doing mistakes, I understand. People don't want to make mistakes, but realize you're under no command to do any of this right now, right? And if you make mistakes, what difference does it make in God's eyes? So you'll say, "Well, I really feel bad. How can I go against what God says?" This and that. Okay, you're right to a point, but the reality is you're not Jewish. Period. So thank God you're not Jewish right now. You can make all the mistakes you want, right? As long as they're not, against the Noahide laws. So a person can be more sensitive. I would definitely agree. A person can be more, much more sensitive and feel bad for doing these things. But the reality is you haven't done anything wrong. Yeah, you want to be consistent. You want to do the right thing. You want to go on the right path. True. Very, very true. Right. But again, one thing you can chalk it up to is, okay, I lack knowledge. I have to learn better. I have to be stronger, this and that. But at the end of the day, how is God going to look at it? Were you obligated? No. Lashon Hara, were you obligated? Not obligated. Okay, you can feel bad. You made mistakes. You got to relearn the laws. Got to be more careful. Okay. But did you do anything wrong in God's eyes? No. Is it a moral imperative not to speak Lashon Hara? Yes, that I would say. So it's a moral imperative. You got it wrong. Fine. Yeah. Does that mean you transgress the Noahide laws? No. Someone asked Kashr's question. Okay. Milk was milked by the hands of a non-Jewish farmer without doing anything else. Can it be kosher milk? No. Cannot be kosher milk. In other words, what if a Jew oversaw it? Yeah. So again, be kosher milk. So, a Jew has to do it. Jew has to do it over here. From the process of conversion, and I have kosher wine. Did I make it unkosher by touching the bottle of wine? If it's open, right, and it's not been pasteurized, right? Either if it hasn't been cooked or pasteurized, like a lot of semi-dry or dry wine, then if you touch it when it's open, it becomes unkosher wine. But what difference does it make now? Right? Doesn't make any difference right now, right? Because you're a non-Jew, right? But so if you have, let's say, grape juice, most grape juice pasteurized, you don't have a problem, right? If you have sweet wine or some, let's say, semi-dry wine, it can be pasteurized, right? It should say it's cooked or it's pasteurized, right? Now, if that's the case, you don't have any problems at all. But if it's wine, let's say semi-dry or dry wine, sometimes certainly by semi-dry or dry wine can be not pasteurized. Yeah, so if a non-Jew touches it, when the bottle's open, so then the non-Jew can't drink it. But if you're in the process of conversion, what difference does it make? Yeah, the only problem is you wouldn't be able to serve it to a Jew. That's where it comes out. In other words, if you touch this kosher wine that hasn't been pasteurized and you pour it, you pour it for yourself at some point, right? When you decide to have a cup of wine. Okay. Now you've had that bottle around for a while. A Jew comes, wants to have some of that bottle. Yeah. Can you pour it for them? No. Can they pour it for themselves? Doesn't matter who pours it. It's forbidden. Yeah, it's forbidden for a Jew, not for a non-Jew. Same thing. If a non-Jew, has, let's say they have kosher pots and pans. Yeah, they make something for themselves. All kosher ingredients, highest level of kashrus. What happens when they cook the whole thing from beginning to end? It's not kosher. Now, can they eat it themselves? Yeah. Can other non-Jews eat it? Yeah. Can a Jew eat it? No. If a Jew helps in the process of cooking it, turns on the flame high enough for it to cook, or he helps cook it a little bit, right? They have some part of the process, then that's a different issue. But if a non-Jew or a secular Jew, for that matter, secular Jew that doesn't keep Shabbos, in public and all that, and they cook something for you, it's happened to me. They cook something for you from beginning to end. Are you allowed to eat it? If it's been fully cooked, no. If they reheat something, okay, that's a different issue. Reheating's fine, right? But cooking something by a secular Jew or a non-Jew from beginning to end with the highest level of kashrus forbidden for a Jew to eat. For a non-Jew, they can eat as much as they want, right? It's an interesting question. What about a secular Jew? Let's say a secular Jew has a bottle of wine. They have a bottle of wine. And now, let's say it hasn't been pasteurized, hasn't been cooked. They pour it for themselves. When does it become forbidden? Talking about a secular Jew is the status of a non-Jew. Yeah. Is it forbidden when they drink it or exactly when they poured it? Or, when they open the bottle, and they poured it. Even when they poured it should be forbidden. Right? Not necessarily when they drank it, but they can make the wine forbidden themselves. Interesting case. Yeah, let me see. Someone asks, do I have any thoughts on animal de-extinction and cloning? Cloning is a problem. Yeah, we're not into cloning, right? Cloning animals, is a definite, it's a definitely, it's definitely going to be an issue. Right, so it doesn't matter. Whatever. We'll go into a little bit. There's we're talking specifically about animals. There's a question. There's a question whether if you take two species, put them together. You put them together. Why? Why is it forbidden? So the Ramban says that there's a problem because you're playing with God's creation. Right? We're not allowed to play with God's creation. But you're going to tell me God allowed it to be made. So let's take a donkey, right? What's a donkey? It's a hybrid of a horse. A mule is a hybrid between a horse and a donkey. Yeah, they're not allowed to be together. But what happens? Let's say someone put them together and they made a mule. A mule is an unbelievably strong animal. What's the problem with a mule? It's sterile. Yeah. So if a mule is sterile, it would seem to say that's not what God wanted over here. God did not want you to take these two things and put them together. Yeah, so there is a question. There is a question whether we say also some rabbinical authorities holds over here that cloning is going to violate the spirit of the Torah. Rabbi Yoshev, blessed memory, brings that down. The Sitz Eliezer, Rabbi Eliezer Waldenberg, and also brings down that it's forbidden. Some others say that maybe it's okay if it's done, if it's monitored, right? It's done in a way, let's say, used for only moral purposes. So it could be, some say under certain circumstances, maybe maybe it's okay. And some would say, okay, what's the problem here? Because you're making something, especially if you're talking about a human, you're the whole purpose of procreation you just get rid of, right? In other words, there are three people, the Gemara says in Nida, there are three people or two people in God, so to speak, that make a child, right? You have a mother, a father, and and Hashem himself, Hashem himself putting the spirit of life into the person. So some say that this would totally, eradicate family structure, right? Which would destabilize, society, certainly, beyond damage inflicted by the high divorce rate and surrogate mothers and, other things that, there being other issue cloning for profit, right? Maybe spare parts, other things, might be an issue. So, again, by human, by human, certainly be, certainly be an issue. By animals, now animals don't have that problem per se. Why? Because, okay, animals come into the world, you need two together, whatever. And, even by human, even say by artificial insemination, right, so to speak. So the question would be, there are certain halachic issues with it. There are certain halachic issues, even with animals. But let's say, what's the problem? What are we worried about? So you're worried about extinction. Yeah. If we don't do this, then the animal will be extinct. So I would say like this. Let's look at it from a Torah perspective. If animals become extinct, there are certain animals become extinct, or very close to becoming extinct, or have become extinct. Why do they become extinct? Let's say better. What's the purpose of animals? What's the purpose of any of this? God wants them in the world. Why? For whatever reason. If God decides, right? We spoke about dinosaurs once before, and if they were, by the time of the flood or different time or whatever it may be, why were they destroyed? Let's say. God didn't need them in the world, didn't want them in the world. Why did all the species get destroyed? Same thing, right? That's the Torah outlook, right? So now we may think, oh, we need the species for this and that. I don't know. If they become extinct, what does that mean? It means God doesn't need them. He doesn't need them anymore. Each animal, each species has its own purpose. Now, I'm sure there are plenty of species out there in the world, whatever they may be. We don't know what their purpose is, right? Science hasn't discovered everything, about animals and insects and all that. So some things they may say, well, we're not sure what the purpose is. Okay, so what? So God put it in the world for a purpose we may not understand. Now, let's say they become extinct, or they're close to becoming extinct. Do I have to, do we have to try and do something to make them non-extinct? I don't know. I know that's our obligation. People may do it. They might think it's important, and if it's important enough to save, to save that species, God will allow it to be saved. And if he doesn't think so, they'll die out. Why will they die out? Because God doesn't need them. He doesn't need them anymore in the world. So why did he bring in the world in the first place? Whatever reason, right? It's not our job. Not our job per se. But again, if God will allow people to save certain species, he could not save them and just let them die out. Does that mean we have to run and try and, save the species? I don't know. There are people out there trying to, right? Certain species that are very close to becoming extinct. So I would say, if God wants the species to continue, it will. And if he doesn't, it won't. Is it our obligation? That's the question. Right? Let's answer the question. Is it our obligation to do that? Who says our obligation? Not our obligation. Let's say, there are no more donkeys in the world, let's say. So now you're never going to have any more mules. Whatever mules you have, they can't reproduce. Right? So now mules are going to become extinct. Yeah? So what can you so you say, well, maybe we should clone it. Yeah. Maybe we should clone him. So in such a case, it'd be an interesting case. Can you clone something that can't reproduce? I don't know. I'm not scientifically inclined to say, right? But if it can't reproduce, right? Maybe they can clone it. I don't know. I don't know. But who says that's their obligation? Maybe science will find a reason why you need this species in the world. And they'll say, no, we have to keep it alive. Okay. Right? So God allows them to keep it alive. But if not, then it'll die out. And if it dies out, what's the Torah approach? God doesn't need it anymore. Right? That's what I would say. If a mosquito bites you, is it still not allowed to kill it? Yeah, not allowed to kill it. Unless, let's say a person will get stung, let's say by a bee. There are people that if they get stung by a bee, they'll die. Then you're allowed to kill it. Not even trap it, you could kill it. Take something like a scorpion here in the Middle East. Can I kill a scorpion? 100%. Do I have to just trap it? No, I should kill it on Shabbos. Why? Because it can kill people, right? It's dangerous. If a person gets stung by a bee and they could die, you could kill it. 100% you could kill it. Other people could kill it. Doesn't matter. It's not about trapping it. You kill it because that's a danger to life. A mosquito's not a danger to life. So even if a mosquito stings you, right, or a mosquito bites you, can't kill it. Not allowed to kill it, right? You're not allowed to kill it. You're not allowed to trap it either. If it gets trapped by itself, it's one thing. But let's say there's a mosquito between the pane of the window and the window. And you're so annoyed by this mosquito, you shut the window. Well, guess what? You trapped it. You can't trap it on Shabbos. That's forbidden. You gotta give it a way out. Some way out. So yeah, if a mosquito bites you, yeah, you can't kill it. You can push it away, but you can't kill it. Not allowed to kill it. Yeah. Any other questions? All right, I'm going to stop here. I do this every Saturday. Sunday, we're going to continue with the book of Leviticus, chapter 17, 9 o'clock Eastern time, 4 o'clock Israel time. Anyone has any questions, find me on Facebook at Michael Chaim Kaufman, Beyond Orthodox Conversion to Judaism, orthodoxconversion.com, Beyond Orthodox Conversion to Judaism on YouTube. There I got videos on Pirke Avos, ethics for our fathers, Q&A, Torah portion of the week, controversial issues. And you can send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RBBICHAIMCOFFMAN @gmail.com. Wish you have a good middle of the day, end of the day, beginning of the